no one could help me. Nobody could have stopped me from drinking the bottle. I had to put the bottle down and pick up the Bible myself when I was ready.
Welcome to another episode where we have real conversation with real people. And today we have a special guest. He's a content creator on TikTok. He's a man of God, and he have a story to tell. He overcame addiction. Welcome, Brandon. How you doing?
What's up, man? Doing great. Actually, I got 23 months clean and sober today. So
Oh, today, maybe 23 months.
23 months today, man.
Oh man, okay. Congratulations, man. Congratulations, man. So let's get straight to it. So, do you think addiction is ever a choice, or were you trapped in it from the beginning?
That's a good one. It's kind of different because, like, I'm 39 years old now. I didn't start drinking until I was about 19. Um,
Okay.
after high school, all through high school, man, I was an athlete. I was FCA, Fellowship Christian Athletes. I didn't, but I grew up around it. It's funny because, like, my mom was an addict, druggie. I didn't have a dad in the house. My small town in Kingston, Oklahoma addiction was everywhere, but I always avoided it. I
Yeah.
was always in like sports and church. I didn't start drinking until I was like 19. I was always like a functional kind of alcoholic, and it wasn't until 2020, 2021, I went through some stuff. I was a motorcycle wreck. I lost my mom to addiction. I lost my grandma. I got into a really bad work injury where I tore my arm. That's when I really started getting
Dang.
deep in the bottle. So it's like, for
Mm,
me, it was
okay.
like, it caught up to me later in life. And that's the thing about addiction is like, addiction doesn't discriminate, man. It's, sex, race, age, where you come. So it's like, like in the sober community, I meet a lot of people that like, they started drinking and doing drugs and stuff when they were like 12, 13. It's like, I used to like throw parties at my trailer. Like I lived on my own since I was like 15. I used to throw like parties at my trailer, but I would like go to
Mm-hmm.
the gym and like work out and stuff. So addiction didn't hit me till later in life. So
Oh, okay.
it is. There's people that'll tell you like, oh, addiction is not a disease, this and that. If you look at science, if you look into it and you actually learn knowledge of addiction, it's hereditary. I mean, it's genetics. It can get carried over, and
Mm-hmm.
it is an addiction, man. It is a real thing.
Mm, mm. And before we even continue to talk about your journey with addiction, I want to say this too. What I learned too about addiction is addiction comes in many forms that I never knew about. I always thought addiction was only alcohol and drugs. But I didn't know addiction can be sex. I didn't know food can be addiction. What else? Many things can be addiction that can mess up a person. It could just mess up a person's life because it got so much of a hold on them. And even my own self, like behind closed doors, like I'm gonna share my testimony a little bit. Like I have my own addictions, like sex, pornography, stuff like that, to learn how to cope with my dad death. You know what I'm saying? And I never, I realized it after he had died of my own personal problems. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And not to switch to make it about me, but when I want to ask you more questions about your journey, but before I do, I want to ask, what did addiction look like inside the family you grew up in?
It was uh it was there. It was strong. My mom, I don't think I grew up my whole life without smelling alcohol in my mom's breath, without seeing my mom with,
Mm,
a bottle in her hand, whether it was wine or beer, vodka, sangria. She was a sangria lady. She always bottle empty bottles of sangria everywhere.
yeah.
So I saw it growing up, and it's crazy because like I always told myself I didn't want to be like that. And it's funny you talk about addiction because people, addiction is everywhere, and it's everybody has an addiction to something, whether it's
Yeah.
alcohol, drugs, fitness, health, eating, porn. We're born with addictive personalities. Everybody's born with it. Some people are addicted, as dumb as it sounds, but if you do a lot of research, like people in depression, a lot of people just they like just love that sad part of just staying in depression. Like there's addiction for
Yeah.
every aspect of life. And it's like
Mm-hmm.
I think in in my spirituality and my faith and my journey with God, it's where can I channel that addiction to something more positive? And where I found the last 23 months is like, my like my shirt says, I have my own t-shirt brand, sobriety, faith, family, fitness. It's the four things I live by. I had these shirts made. So those are the four things I live by, and I've channeled all my addiction personality into like my faith. Get reading more into
Right.
scripture, the Bible, helping people, my fitness, my family. Like, what is my
Mm-hmm.
duties? I just got married back in May, and it's like,
Yeah.
what are my duties as a husband in a marriage? So I channel my addiction now to like positive stuff, and I
It's
try to keep
good.
the negative out. So it's like,
It's
yeah,
good.
addiction can be anything, man.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, you're right on that one, man. And one thing about addiction, man, like from what I witnessed with other people, man, it's really hard to break. It's hard to get that monkey off your back. And what I want to ask is like, did anyone in your family ever try to break the cycle, or did everyone just accept it? Like you said, you seen your mom. I remember you shared with me. I believe your brother is battling with his own personal
Yeah,
problems.
yeah.
So have anyone ever tried to break this cycle?
To be honest with you, man, I think I'm the first one.
Wow.
Everybody in my family that I say go has gone down the rabbit hole in addiction. My mom passed away. I had an Uncle George that passed away.
Mm,
Some other family members that passed away. I got a lot of family members in Oklahoma I don't even talk to because that's all they do. And
mm,
my brother's a opioid addict. He lost an addiction in Oklahoma still. I'm the first one I could truly say in my family I had a problem that actually, and my family even tells me, like my family that lives out here in California that, they don't have that addiction. They told me
yeah.
all the time, they're like, man, you're breaking a cycle.
Yeah, you are.
And it's true. Even my wife, my wife tells me that I'm the first person she ever met that said that they were going to stop drinking and actually has done it. And I'm very proud of
Yeah.
that.
Mm-hmm. That's
You know,
good. That's good. And so I'm curious. So, what's your like? There's people that I know in my family that's open with their addiction, or some not open with their addiction. Was your family? Did they like try to hide it, or did they make it obvious?
no, it was out there. No one really
Oh,
tried to
okay.
hide it. Yeah. No, everybody was just kind of out there.
Damn. You ain't never like. Okay, let me use your mom for a prime example. Like, you ain't never try to talk to your mom, like, hey, mom, can you put the bottle down?
Oh, yeah. Plenty of
And how
times.
was that? So how was that conversation like? Because I know how it is to have a conversation with somebody who's addicted to something, right? It becomes yeah, I'm gonna be straightforward. It becomes violent. It become, like we fight like cats and dogs. So how was it for you having those conversations with your mother?
Same way. Oh, I don't have a problem. I can stop anytime I want. The same
Mm,
excuses like, oh, what are you talking about? I have a drinking problem. I can stop anytime I want. Then stop. Well, why do I need to
right,
stop? I don't have a drinking problem. I'm not an alcoholic. I work. I do this. I'm like, yeah, that's called a functional alcoholic. You know what I mean? So
right,
no, I tried. Believe me, I tried having a conversation with my brother a couple years ago. He actually, went to rehab, got help. He's got a couple kids from
right,
two different women that I was like, hey man, you got kids, you got a family, like and it's not enough. And that thing about
right.
addiction is well, and that's the thing about addiction is like I know on a personal note, and a lot of people will tell you is you can't force someone to stop. You can't. I mean,
Mm,
the only way I've seen someone be forced to stop because they say in addiction is there's three ways out: jails, institutions, or death. That's your three choices if you don't stop. You're either going to be institutionalized, you're going to be jail, or you're going to die. You're going to end up in the dirt. And the only people
mm,
I've met that were forced to stop were people that were forced to go to like jail and
yeah,
because they couldn't get it. And I mean, I've met people that are thankful they went to jail for 2 or 3 years because it forced them to get sober. But when you're out here in active addiction and like until you want to literally until like the day I actually looked in the mirror and I surrendered to God and said, hey man, help, I need help, I'm broke, I can't fix it. No one could help me. Nobody could have stopped me from drinking the bottle. I had to put the bottle down and pick up the Bible myself when I was ready. And
mm,
it took me longer than I thought, but hey, I'm here to talk about it. And that's why I'm
right,
open about it. That's why I'm open about it because I share because I'm here for the people that can't share. I speak
yeah,
out loud. That's what they say, share out loud so you don't suffer in silence. And
mm,
that's why I'm open about my addiction because, people see me and they're like, oh man, you're into fitness. You're a fit dude. Like, you had an addiction. I'm like, yeah, man, there is a better path and a way out, but you have to want it. You can't force
Yeah,
anybody. So
I
when I'd have
agree.
the when I'd have those conversations like my mom or brother, man, it was like, I don't have a problem. What are you talking about? I can put it down when I want until it's too late.
Have you ever like maybe this might sound like a dumb question, cause this happened to me once. It'd be nice where bro, I'll be so emotional talking to my dad for him to get better with his personal problems and trying to help him to get better. You know what I'm saying? And like a lot of people don't understand the mental toll it has on the children when you watch your parents self-destruct. So, did you have your moments where you just cry at night? Cause I know I did, bro. I ain't gonna lie to you, bro.
Yeah, 100%, man. Like I said, when I was about 16 years old, I was a sophomore in high school. My little sister's in eighth grade. My older brother had just graduated, went off to college.
Yeah,
We wound up moving my sister to Colorado, lived with my aunt. I moved out, got my own trailer because at that point it was too bad. Like mom would disappear for a week at a time, or I'd come home, electricity's off, water's off, cables
yeah,
off, no gas, and I would cry myself. I mean, I lived out of my car for a couple weeks at a time. I lived out of the gym. Like I was a 16-year-old kid crying myself to sleep in my car a lot of times because I was like, man, why me? Like, why is this happening to me?
mm,
And that was
that's
still
deep.
never enough for her to get help and to like fix the problem, you
Right,
know?
damn, damn. So, like, let me ask you this, bro. So, what is something about growing up with an alcoholic mother that people don't understand?
Man, it's just so the way I look at it now, like, I my mom passed in August 2021. I didn't admit I really had a problem till probably 2021, 2022. I kept trying to stop, went back, trying to stop, went back. Now that I've come to realization that I am a recovering alcoholic, I do have a drinking problem. The one thing I wish I could do to this day is I would forgive my mom. I would, I actually a couple years ago I wrote a letter before after she passed. A therapist of mine in rehab told me to write a letter to your mom. I got everything out I wanted to say, and I would just tell her I'm sorry because she was a single mom with three kids, small town, jobs weren't the greatest, working all she could. So that was like her therapy. She turned to the bottle. So
Oh,
I don't necessarily blame her for I don't think it was by choice. I think that was like her like way of releasing her stress, her way of getting out. And once you get caught up in the addiction, man, it's like it's hard to get out, especially if like your finances aren't in order and you got kids to take care of. Like it's easy to stay in than it is to get out. And it's hard when that person's in an active addiction because unless they see an outlet, like something comes along that's great, you think three kids would be enough to get out. But
right.
I think that was like her. I think that was more of her coping stress mechanism. Was like, instead of like finding something else, she'd get lost in the bottle. And I'm not mad at her now that I know more about addiction and what it is and like what I've gone through. Like I'm not mad at my mom. Like, I wish if she was here today, I'd tell her, I love her and I'm not mad at you because it is when you're lost in it, man. It's I mean, I had I mean, my deepest time, like I said back in 2022, I had a bad arm injury.
Yeah.
I tore my whole tendon and tricep, full reconstructive surgery. I'm good now, but I remember one night I was so depressed and drunk. I actually wound up, I passed out in my car. I woke up the next morning, I had my gun on my lap.
Mm.
That was the one time in my life I got to a point where I didn't see a way out. I wanted to take my life. And that right there is a scary thing because it's like addiction can put you in such a mindset that like I mean you've talked to drunk people before. Sometimes you talk to drunk people and it's like you're looking at them, they're looking at you, but they're not looking at you. They're looking through you. And when
Yeah.
growing up around a mom who was like that was her all the time, it was like talking to a wall. So
Mm.
people that haven't ever grown up around it, man, it's until you're actually in it, you really don't know how to explain it or what
I
to
agree.
experience.
No, I
It's
agree. No, I agree with that. No, I agree with that, man, because with my father, man, like, my dad was very stubborn, man. Like the addiction he had with cigarettes and other things that I wasn't really too pleased by what he was doing, man. Like it was like talking to a brick wall. It was just mentally, I was just mentally drained. Like I had to step away. Like I had to, you know what I'm saying, like be at my sister's house more. because it was just too much for me. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yep.
Like I'm shedding tears with him. Like, Dad, let's go work out. Let's go do these things. Like, I don't want to lose you. But he feeling like he could start at any time he want to do. I mean, I'm saying this wrong. He felt like he can start at any time that whenever he want to. And it was just a mental toll. And it was so crazy, man. Like before he passed away, I felt that he held that against me. You know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
like he'll take my name because my daddy had his business in order when he passed. So like he took his name, not his name, he took my name off certain things. And I believe because he did that because of him being upset at me because I took a step back. I need a mental break. I don't think he understood what I was going through. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And what I want to ask you is like, did you ever feel angry at your mother for choosing alcohol over being a present as a parent?
All the time. All the time, man. I mean, I was always for years I was pissed off because, you know, like no 16-year-old kid should ever have to live on his own in high school. Should have to worry about, I mean, I
Yeah.
was I was going to school, I was playing baseball, I was playing basketball, I was doing track. I was still a, straight A kid, working after school, after practice, working on the weekends, working two jobs. So like I was
Mhm.
always angry because it was like, like senior year, like when senior pictures come up, stuff like that. Parents are paid
Mhm.
for it. I'm paying for all my stuff. So it was always like, even like after I graduated, like going to college, it was like mom was never there for me. Like I had to learn life lessons like without a parent. Like I said, I didn't have a dad growing up. I had her. That was it.
Yeah, that's tough. It was
And not
tough.
even having
Yeah.
her, it was like, I had to learn fast. And I'm not mad that that's what happened because I think it made me the strong man I am today. Um,
Right.
just like, God put me through addiction myself. Like later in life, I had to go through addiction. I had to go through trials and errors. I had to figure out a path. But it's made me the man I am today. And that's why I'm open about sharing about it because, like it don't matter what happened in your past. You get to choose your future,
Yeah.
And now that I decided to put the bottle down and pick up my life again, I get to decide every day what I'm going to do that day. So
Mhm.
yeah, I was pissed off at her, of course, but I'm not anymore. Like I'm not angry anymore, and I'm I'm
Yeah.
I'm at I'm at peace with that. Like I said,
Good.
if I could see my mom one more time, I would just tell her, I forgive her and I love her, and because I don't remember seeing anybody else ever trying to help her, like family members
Mm.
trying to help her, like get her to rehab, get her out of like the bottle. You know what I mean? Like so, it's like no one really ever tried to help her.
Yeah.
So
Now you more understanding going through your own trials and tribulations. Yeah,
100%.
nah. Yeah, nah, that's how I feel with my dad, man. Like, cause like when my dad, man, like he was a self-destructing. You know what I'm saying? Cause I didn't understand it, but I knew, and what I mean by that is that when his father passed away, I felt that he died with his dad. And my dad wasn't taking care of himself like he's supposed to. He wasn't following doctor orders. And I was in the past I was angry with him. But as I got older, I'm like, okay. And that's why it's very important to have the right people around you because I have like I give all glory to God for having the friends around me because I talked to one of my close friends and he was telling me like, man, you don't know how your life will be if somebody passed away and how you gonna turn out. Because I would judge my father. But as I start understanding him and try to do as much as I can, I'm feel good. I can look in the mirror that I did the best I could. But I really start understand why he did when he died. I'm like, damn, you know what? Like I understand why he self-destruct because I had my own self-destruction, like depressed eating and doing things to cope with my grief, watching porn, sleeping with different women, like all type of unhealthy things that's not good for me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And yeah, man, I definitely understand. That's why sometimes I wish I can reach out to my dad, like, man, like I feel your
Yeah.
pain, man, and what I want to ask you is like, you know, and you probably answered this already, but like, what was the moment you realized alcohol had a hold on you?
So 2022 when things got bad, I went to rehab. I was in and out of rehab 3 times. I was on workman's comp from an arm injury, so I was off.
Okay.
I was heavy in the bottle. Went to rehab a couple different times. I was married before. It was my ex-wife. She was like, "You go to rehab or, get help, whatever." Went to rehab, came back, drank. Rehab, came back, drank. Third time, we separated. I moved out. moved into sober living. My whole world was upside down. A few months later, I met, my wife now, who is the most amazing woman I've ever met. And the first year I was with my wife, her name is Danielle. I was, 2022, 2023, I was kind of in and out of the bottle. I would drink for a couple months and stop. And I was still like, oh, you know what? I think I'm good. I don't think I'm alcoholic. I think I'm good. Like I can socially drink every once in a while. And 2023 in November, I went on a drinking bender. We got in a fight one night and I disappeared from the house, went to a hotel for like a week. Was calling off work, was drinking, and around Christmas I drank again. And finally it was, December 26th, man. I had COVID for about 6 days. We missed Christmas with our families. I was isolated in the bedroom because of COVID. And Christmas Day I drank, and then Christmas morning, the day after Christmas, I woke up and I drank a little bit, and
Yeah.
I remember I went in the bathroom, I looked in the mirror, and it's like something hit me that I was like, I gotta stop doing this. Like I have no control. Like I
Right.
literally have lost all control of alcohol. Like I can't pick up one drink because I'm powerless. Like my body is powerless over alcohol. And December 26th, 2023, when I spoke to God in the bathroom, man, I looked in the mirror and I said, hey man, I'm broke. I can't fix it. I need your help. That was the moment I realized, like, I gotta do this. I have to do this.
Right.
Not just for, and it wasn't even the fact for like my wife, for like my family, my stepdaughter, like them. It was the fact that like I gotta do this or I'm gonna kill myself. I saw
Right.
what it did. My mom passed away from wet brain. It's called Werner-Korsakoff. So it's like dementia for alcoholics, like addicts. After
Oh.
you after you've used for so long, you start getting, you know, part of your brain lobe is kind of gets it's like dementia, and that's what my mom passed from. And
Mm.
with wet brain, it can catch up to you at any time. They say it could be your last drink could be your last drink. And
Mm.
I had the realization that day that I'm powerless over alcohol. And every day I remind myself that if I pick up a bottle, that could be the last drink I ever take. And I don't want to do that, man. I got too much in this world. God has gifted me with too much in this world to give. And so
Right.
that was the day that I realized that I'm powerless over this, man. I can't do it anymore.
Mm. So, what did a bad day look like for you when you were deep in addiction?
Man, waking up with chills, withdrawals. And that thing too is like you got to realize you're an
Mm.
addict when I stopped waking up with hangovers. I would have withdrawals, man. I wouldn't wake up the next day like, oh, I got a hangover, but I would wake up with like the shakes, and I would have the
Wow.
sweats and the chills and the restless mind where like you can't sleep. Like you'd be tired, you lay down, but like your body's just all over the place. You get up and you just, oh, dude, you'd be awake for days. Like just the withdrawals were
Dang.
just, the withdrawals are just, man, that's the worst pain. I mean, I put myself through pain all the time as far as fitness and training, and like
Right.
the motorcycle wreck I had, the arm injury, the losing people. But withdrawal pain is something that, because you can't do anything about it. You just have to sit back and let it take its course, and it sucks, man.
Mm.
Withdrawal.
So how
Anybody that's ever gone through alcohol withdrawals, it is the worst feeling in the world.
Wow, I did not know I did not like I knew like with alcohol withdrawals, like you probably crave for it, but I didn't know it was that deep.
No,
Wow.
well, and that's the craziest part too, is like, because in the back of your head, to fix these withdrawals, if I just chug a little bit more, I'll be fine. But then eventually when you stop, you're going to get that feeling again. And the problem with that alcohol addiction, it's one of the worst addictions, is because certain people, if you're so hard in the bottle and so hard to drink it for so long, people can die from just cutting cold turkey. Like literally, they don't recommend certain people, if you're that far gone, and like I'd say this, like coming from rehab, like
Mhm.
the people that work there, like the people that, like, say you call and you're like, hey, I got to get my so to rehab. They'll actually,
Yeah.
come to your house, and they'll come to your house and pick you up. They actually keep little shots of like vodka and stuff in the cars, because if they get to somebody who's that bad of withdrawals, they will actually keep them drunk until they get them to the hospital, because they need to get hooked up to the IV ASAP. Because
Whoa.
you can get seizures, you can die from coming off withdrawals like that. Yeah, some people are so far gone where they don't recommend cold turkey. Like, hey, don't just quit. You need to get to a hospital, because you got to start getting
Mm.
some fluids pumped in your system. Yeah, it's bad.
Damn, I ain't never knew that, bro.
It's
That's
bad.
crazy, bro. Yeah, I got family members who's addicted to alcohol, bro, and I'll be wanna like talk to them. Like by you sharing this with me, man, I'll be wanna like make me wanna go talk to them, but I know the conversation's gonna go totally left, man. God damn, bro, that's
They don't.
crazy.
well, they don't want to admit it, and that's the thing with a lot of alcoholics is like they it's not necessarily that, and I've talked to people about it, and I know from a personal note,
Right.
that's why I would say this up on a personal note, like it's not necessarily the fact that like I wanted to keep drinking the next day. I just didn't want to feel like crap anymore. And
Mm,
I knew, okay, I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna go through this stuff for hours, or I could pick up and just take a couple shots and I could get back to relaxing and being fine. So
right.
a lot of people I think continue to drinking because they're like they're gonna feel like crap and they want to get past that. And alcohol covers that.
Mm. Man, no, I really learned something today, bro.
It's bad,
Wow.
man.
Yeah, yeah. So like, do you blame your family for your addiction or do you blame yourself?
I don't blame anybody for my actions. You know, I don't
Mm,
I don't like using that like, oh, I went through because like for instance, like a lot of people that I've talked to in recovery, a lot of them use when they're younger, whether it's drugs or alcohol or whatever. A lot of them use because of like a situation we went through, like they were, molested, something like that. I as a kid, my mom was in and out of boyfriends. Like I was beat by some of her boyfriends. Some of her boyfriends tried touching me. I mean, I went through a lot of stuff, but
yeah.
I always resorted to sports. I never used alcohol and all that stuff. It wasn't till later in life I drank, and it wasn't because childhood trauma. For me, it was just that's what everybody was doing. I was drinking, and it just caught up to me. So
Oh,
I'm not gonna sit there and blame like, my mom, my dad, my upbringing. Like I don't like to blame stuff on the past because just because they went through that, I'm a very successful man. I got a great career, I got a great
right.
wife, a great house, I got money in the bank, bills paid, I got a great stepdaughter, I got a great fitness going, I got stuff going. I've created my own success. I'm not gonna
Mm-hmm.
even waste my time and blame, oh, I went through all this stuff because of that. You know what? I went through that stuff. At the end of the day, I'm the one that picked the bottle up. I'm the one that
Right.
chose to drink. You know what I mean? Like I can't
Right.
say, oh,
Right.
I'm drinking this because I was abused when I was a kid. No, bro, it's 20 years ago. Because a lot of people in
Right.
recovery, and that's the thing about, I love people in recovery, but a lot of people make excuses. A lot of people say, oh, you know, I drink because, when I was 15. Like, bro, you're 40 years old. Grow up.
Yeah.
You
Some
can't
people be stuck in that victim mentality.
they
Keep going.
get
Keep
they
going.
no they get stuck in that like, oh, boo hoo me because of this
Yeah.
happened. Bro, you're a grown ass man, like you get choices now. Like for instance, me, I grew up around it, right?
Right.
I have a 16 and a half year old stepdaughter. I've known her since she was 13. Instead of me boo-hooing about what I grew up as, I can be the figure in her life that she never sees do that. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like she doesn't, I don't ever want her to say, "Oh, my mom's husband, my stepdad was a drunk." I get to change the pattern of
Right.
I can show this kid what it's like to grow up in a normal household without a drunk parent.
Right.
Instead of like, "Oh, well, my mom did it, so I might as well do it too." No,
Yeah.
I can change the
Yeah.
pattern just like in my family, like I said. I'm the only one I know in my family that actually put an addiction down and did something good with their life.
Yeah.
I mean, I got a lot. No,
But
go ahead.
also too, not to cut you off though, Brandon. I believe is that reason why you are the way you are, and the difference between you and those people that you was in a rehab with, they was expressing about themselves because you're spiritually strong. You know what I'm saying? I believe God
100%.
gave you that. I believe God gave you that clarity to look at yourself in the mirror and for you to make something out your life and for you to keep moving forward. A lot of people are spiritually weak and that's why they can't move forward and they can't accept what happened. So they be stuck in that victim mentality, man. That's why it's very important to be spiritually strong. And I admire that about you. You know what I'm saying? And what I want to ask you is, man, you know, like I said, I personally know people who's battling addiction and I don't know what it's like to be in their shoes, but I know what it's like to see that. And what I want to ask you is, what was harder, quitting alcohol or facing the emotions you try to numb with it?
I would say mm, this last time quitting wasn't as hard as the times before.
Right.
I think the times before because I was looking at like the bigger picture, like, oh, well, if I quit, I can't ever drink again. I can't ever go to a baseball game without drinking. I can't ever go to a country garden without drinking. I started thinking all the stuff I've done that I was so comfortable with doing where alcohol is involved. This last time
Uh-huh.
around, I had more of a mindset like, look at all the stuff I get to do over again sober. I get to go to country concerts sober. I get to go to theme parks sober. I don't have to worry about am I going to smell like alcohol? Am I going to smell like this? I don't, am I going to worry? I'm going to wake up with the withdrawals. Like it was easier this last time, but the times before it was really hard to quit. That's why I didn't
Mm,
quit. I wasn't like, and you kind of just hit it spot on. I wasn't spiritually ready to let go.
mm.
I wasn't strong enough at that time to say, you know what, I'm putting this down and I'm not picking up again. I wasn't mentally or physically or spiritually ready for it. And something about this last time, man, God has literally just put a like a total different sense of faith in me that it's kind of awesome. Like I love it.
That's good. That's good. And I believe we having this conversation for a reason, man. You know what I'm saying? It's not a coincidence. And you said this earlier, but I want to ask you, like, did you have to cut people off to stay sober?
100%.
And how
100%.
was it hard for you? Was it hard for you to do that? Did people was looking at you like it was funny?
No, so with me, like I said, when I got separated back in 2022, um, I lost some friends. Well, here's the thing.
Mm,
At that time, I thought I lost friends. We had mutual friends, lost people, lost touch with a lot of people.
yeah.
And but then I started to realize over the last years, they weren't friends, they were drinking buddies. They were acquaintances. They were what
Mm,
did I used to do with this person? Barbecues and drink, baseball games and drink, concerts and drink. Everything I did with those people was revolved around drinking. This last couple years of my life, I've got to surround myself by people that are like good for me, good for like in my mental health, good like motivate me to accomplish more in my life. Like, like they say, you are who you surround yourself with. And I was
right.
surrounded,
Me
and
too.
here's the thing: is I was surrounding myself around a bunch of just drunk alcoholics, not realizing all my friends. We were drinking and going out and partying and having fun, but like I was literally killing it and feeling my addiction with the people I was surrounding myself around. And now I surround myself around positive people, so it's like a lot of the people that I kind of cut out around them that I haven't talked to in years. I've never reached out because there's no need. Like I am who I am today because of what I've done. My wife has been the most amazing. The first year, like I said, I was in and out of drinking. She didn't give up on me. She saw something in me and she sees the man I've turned into be now 23 months clean and sober. And I'm blessed with the people that God keeps the people in your life that are meant to be there for a reason. And I feel the reason that some of those people aren't in my life anymore is because that was the trash I had to get rid of. I'm sorry to say bad about people, but facts.
Yeah.
You didn't do anything good for me except put me back in the bottle. And now that you're not there and I'm not, there's no need to bring you back.
Right. No, you're right, man. You're right.
So
And I want to ask you this. So, when you was going through your addiction, this happened when your mom passed away already, or she was still alive?
she okay, so I always been like functional alcoholic, like, kind of just life of the party kind of guy. Mom passed in 2021. It wasn't till yeah, kind of after her, like later 21, where like it was like I was just every day wanted to come home and drink. And then 22, when I had my arm injury and I was off work and I was home, just to numb the pain, man, I was just every day with the bottle. And
So you
that's when
do
it was
so.
like,
So when you say you were numb the pain, like the pain you was going through with your work injury, or you just losing your mom, you able to sit and actually reflect, that kind of like played a
man,
role, or
it was a lot. It was losing my mom. I was in a relationship I wasn't happy with. I had my
okay.
arm. I wasn't where I wanted to be. And it was a bad mindset. And alcohol was numbing the pain.
Oh,
And that's when my addiction got probably the worst, you know.
oh, okay, 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 and you, if you don't mind sharing, is that the reason why your first marriage didn't work out because of your addiction?
Maybe a little, but it was already kind of
That was
not going
okay.
where it was already kind of not going where I was wanting to. I mean, we kind of grew apart. I wasn't that happy. I knew I needed something like a change. I knew I needed something different, just life wise. That's why I look back and I'm like, I'm not mad at God for putting me through what I went through. I think that was him, like, since maybe I wasn't strong enough to get out, and he was like, well, I'm gonna do something that's gonna force you out. And I look back on it like that was just another like, thank you, God. Like, not mad at you, bro.
Right,
Now
right.
I mean, now I've never been. I mean, dude, my wife now is like, oh my God, dude, she's my wife. She's great. She's amazing. She's hot. She's beautiful. She's just everything that I've ever wanted in a woman. I'm like, thank you, God. And this is what sobriety
Yeah,
gets me. I get to meet this person. Like I said, we just got married in May down in Malibu, and it was amazing, man. Like,
that's good. That's good.
so
Man, and I want to ask too, bro. Like you losing your mother, like how that impacted you? You know, how did you deal with your grief compared from then and now?
so obviously then like the hardest part was, me and my mom, like I said, in high school moved out. She was an alcoholic. Um, my early 20s, 30s didn't really have a relationship, and about a year and a half before she passed, she got into a she was still in addiction.
Okay.
She got into a wreck in Oklahoma, and she got into a wreck. She kind of was unable to take care of herself a little bit. So we actually moved her. My brother moved her out from Oklahoma down to California. So she was staying with my aunt and uncle in Costa Mesa. I was living close by. Me and her started developing a relationship again because she was sober. Like she was kind of
Mm.
and she was one of those where she was kind of forced to get sober because she had a little bit of a head injury from the wreck. She was staying with my grandma in Costa Mesa. My aunt and uncle were in there on the area, so like she was kind of like healing, so like she was forced to be sober, but we started having a relationship again. I remember talking to her, and
Yeah.
she would say, I'm so sorry for the stuff I put you through. Like we started having a good
Oh.
relationship,
Okay.
and it sucks because around that time is when we started noticing, like, I remember one time I was out to lunch with her and my grandma, and we were talking, and she kind of like we had a conversation, and she looked away, and she came back, and she's like, "Hey, baby," and she starts talking again. I was like, "What the hell?" So
Mm.
at one of our next doctor appointments, they did a couple CAT scans, some other stuff, and they said that they diagnosed her with wet brain, and we all were kind of like, "Wait, what?" And so we slowly over the next, 5 6 months, all it started to get worse. We actually wound up moving around to Colorado with my other aunt because Colorado had better like healthcare, I guess, for like people that aren't seniors. I mean, my mom was only 53 when she passed.
Man, she was young.
So we moved out to Colorado, and it got within like a month. She went from like me and you having a conversation to like a little confused to like, I have a video I keep in my phone. The last time I saw my mom, about a week before she passed, I went to Colorado to see her at the hospital,
Mm.
and she was just like a adult child, dude, just doing this, rocking back and forth like this in a cage, like they had her in like this like giant crib, and she would just literally walk back and
Yeah.
forth. And the nurse was like, she does this for 18, 19 hours a day. And I was just, the only thing I was really mad about God was like, I finally started having a relationship with my mom, and then he took her away, you know?
Mm.
So that kind of stuck deep with the bottle. But like I said, now in my sobriety, like I get it. I'm not mad at her because that was her coping mechanism. And if I could see her again, I would just, I would tell her like, I'm not mad at you. I love you. Um, and now what I get to do, man, is finding sobriety and being the first person in my immediate family that was an addict that's actually broken this chain. I get to live
Right.
for them. I get to live for them. Like I get to live
Yeah.
for, one thing I do is I'll show you right now, my workout shoes. So I write on the back of my shoes, I write, I run for them. And
Mm.
on my workout shoes, I have friends and family that have passed away. Like right here, I got my mom right here.
Mm-hmm.
I got my grandma Hope right here. I got my wife's grandma and grandpa. I got, and I put on the back, God first, stay blessed. So this is
Mm-hmm.
stuff I do. So when I'm working out and stuff like that, like I'm at the gym for these people. So now I get to not only am I sober for myself and my family, but I get to do the stuff that people that have passed in their addiction don't get to do.
Right. That's
And I and
deep.
I
That's
and I
deep.
take and I take that to heart. And I've been doing that for a couple of years, man. And
That's deep.
it's like it gives me something more every day to like. I'm not just living for myself. I get to show people that are in addiction like you can break the cycle, and when you do,
Right.
and you find your higher power and you find faith, man, the sky's the limit, bro.
I agree. Yeah, man. Like I'm working on to your level. Cause like with my family, man, like my grandfather died of a heart attack because he didn't take care of his health. My father died of a heart attack because he didn't take care of his health. I'm probably like the first person in my family who's taking care of their health, who's you know, I I'm not as consistent as I should be, but I'm doing a lot better than the people before me. And
Yeah.
that's something I keep in mind, like, I'm doing that for them because, I want to be an example for my like nieces and if I do have children and cause and just able to live a longer life that God put me here. Like if I'm on this earth uh, for however long God want me here for, I want to able to do the things I enjoy doing, and more importantly, lead by example. And what you're doing, you leading by example, which I applaud you for. And and for my father, to share my little experience. He wanted to get better, but it was hard for him to get better, and I understood why he did what he did because I feel like my dad wasn't really happy, and for a long time, I didn't understand. Not for a long time, for a moment, I didn't understand why I was heartbroken. Because when my father passed, I was heartbroken. So I was close to my dad. He apologized to me, and but I told him like, we in this together, and I didn't understand why he had to die. I was mad at God too because I'm like, he wasn't able to be here to see me get married, have children, stuff like that, and but I understood why because for one he wasn't happy, and I prayed all the time that I was want my dad to get better. I want him to be happy. So I figured if if that's the way my dad got to be happy to take him out his misery and him to be with God, hopefully, then I'm okay with that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
and I'm learning to accept that. And what I want to ask you is, what was the biggest thing your mom death taught you about life?
Wait, the biggest thing that what?
What's the biggest thing your mom death taught you about life?
You never know when your last drink is, you know. You never know when it's like too much. Because like I said, the thing with her was, she was clean and sober for about a year and a half before wet brain caught up.
Mm,
So it was like it was an illness that was bound to catch up just by her decisions. So I'm fortunate. I'm blessed that I hopefully caught it soon enough and gave it up before it caught up to me.
mm,
So, she didn't know her last drink. You never know when your last drink is. You really don't. Your
yeah.
last drink could be the last
Mm,
drink that sets you over to maybe you get into a car and you get in a car and die, or maybe you get wet brain and you catch that, or maybe you make a decision that ruins your life. And it's like, if I can avoid my state of mind being, kind of altered because of a substance I'm taking, then that's what I have to do in life because
yeah,
my mom didn't get that choice. But
definitely.
by staying sober, I get the choice of as long as I don't put that poison in my body, I can control, at least having the mindset to know what decisions I'm making. And she clearly couldn't do that for years. So
Yeah, yeah. And honestly, bro, like, man, life is so short, man. Like we be here today and be gone tomorrow. And that's something what my dad did. Like before my dad passed away, he bought himself a car. He didn't have no intentions on dying. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So it's just like, yeah, man, just yeah, life is very precious, But what I want to ask you is, man, like, why do you think society treats people with addiction like they're weak instead of hurting?
I think the ignorance. I think they're just.
Mm,
I don't think it's necessarily their fault. I think just when you hear the word addict, you automatically assume like piece of crap. Because I get it. I
yeah,
tell people too. When I tell people like I'm a recovering alcoholic, they kind of like do that little what? Like it's like I got a disease. Don't touch me. Like kind of. I think it's just
yeah,
ignorant.
yeah,
I just don't think
yeah,
that. I just don't think and like personally that. And I'll be honest, like on a personal note, I wasn't that educated on it. Like I never looked into it until I realized like, look, I come from a family of alcoholics and addicts. I'm an addict. And what is an addict? And I had to do more research on it and figure out exactly what it is, what causes it. Like I think it's just the ignorance of people just they assume, oh, that guy's an alcoholic. Oh, he's just a piece of crap. And I think
Hmm.
it's just the I don't think enough. I think now, like with TikTok and all these like podcasts and all these like social media platforms, more people are getting out there and sharing and talking about it, and you're getting to hear these stories of people that are coming out, celebrities, people that are people look up to that like they've overcome stuff. So I think it's getting out a little bit better, but yeah, I just think it's the ignorance of just not knowing, man.
Yeah. No, you're right, man. Cause I'm not gonna lie, bro. I was one of those people because I had people that I was close with. I'm gonna say this, like one of my close friends, he had a pill addiction, and like I said, I didn't know nothing about it, bro. And not saying I looked at him as he was weak, but I'm like, bro, if you don't like what you're going through, just stop. You know what I'm saying? I had a misconception, or other people that I knew who was on drugs, like close family members. I look at them weak because I'm like, how can you just do that? You know what I'm saying? But that's
Yeah,
me just being immature and not knowing. And yeah, I definitely and I believe like it's not enough conversations about addiction, about how to handle people who have addiction and what to do. Because I remember my friend who died over a overdose, he reached out to me. He was like, I'm having a relapse. I'm like, and I brushed him off, like, man, hey, I'm dealing with my own problems. You're gonna have to deal with that. And I ain't honestly, bro, like till this day, that kind of like it took me a long time to forgive myself because I never knew how bad it was until he had relapse. And like you said, when you take your last drink, that's what him. He took his last pill and he died in his sleep. So that's something that I was kind of beating myself up for, and that's is why one of the reasons why I create this platform to educate people and to shed light. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
And a couple more questions before we wrap this up,
Well,
man.
real
I want
quick,
to ask.
no,
Go
real
ahead.
quick though. Well, like one thing too, like you said, like when people admit they're an addict and people think that take that as like weakness.
Yeah.
It's crazy because like alcoholics, addicts, whatever your addiction is, I know on a personal note, when people recover and get sober, addicts are some of the strongest people in the room, man. We think different. Our mindsets are different because we've already been through, you know what I mean? Like the devil already attacked us. The devil's off our back
Right.
now. Now we have our whole life ahead of us. Like I know that addiction made me a stronger person. I know when I walk into the
Mm,
room, you know, I some people I'm the one of the strongest motherfuckers in that room. And I know that
mm,
spiritually, mentally, physically, because addiction already put me through so much that now I know what I get to accomplish in life while I'm sober. And
mm-hmm.
I set high standards for myself when it's my DECA competitions, my fitness, like my spirituality, my I'm just we're different breeds. So a lot of people mistake addicts for being weak. No, we're weak in the
Yeah.
moment of we're weak when we're lost in our addiction. But when we recover, recovering alcoholics and recovering addicts are some of the strongest people I've ever met.
That's
Hundred
deep.
percent, hundred
That's deep.
percent.
And I want to ask you since you said that specific part, right? About how addicts are, they become stronger once they out there, out that bad headspace, right? So how do you handle stress now without the alcohol as a crutch?
I talk to God. I go to the gym. I talk about it. I talk to my wife. I develop different strategies. Like
Mm,
instead of like, oh, you know what, f this, I'm gonna grab the bottle. Now I'm like, okay, let me sit back. What is this that bad? Like I think of the biggest thing for me is I take the small victories in life. Like if something at work bothers me, okay, well guess what? I got a job. I got money in the bank. I'm breathing. I'm sober today. Like
right,
I
right.
got to wake up. Like I think a lot of people in the world and like I talk about a lot of times people forget the get tos. Like I get to go to work.
Mm,
I get to go to the gym. You don't have to do anything.
yeah,
I could wake up every day and lay in bed all day if I want to. But guess what? I wouldn't get to have my job. I wouldn't get to have my car, my wife. Like it's the
right.
small victories in life that we get to experience every single day that a lot of people forget about. It's like
Yeah, yeah,
we
I
live in this
agree.
we live in this whole this whole world of just like values and like clothes and blah, what you have and it's like all that stuff is like expendable. Like it's your
Yeah.
life that you get to live. Like it's
I was one of those people. Keep going.
No, I get it. I mean, I was the same way, and now it's like I'd be pissed off about the most dumbest things. I'd pick up a bottle, and it's like now I'm like, instead of thinking of reasons to drink, I think of reasons not to drink, and I got a ton of them. I
Mm,
got my health. I like, bro, we're sitting there doing a podcast on the internet in our homes. I got electricity, I got clothes in myself. Like it's like there's so much stuff now to be so thankful for that in my addiction I didn't think about before. And
Yeah.
I don't I have a different mindset. Like I'm more calm, I'm more, and that 100%. People always ask me what's different this time. It is 1,000% my faith, man. That
Yeah.
is the one thing that I don't question it anymore. I don't question.
That's
People
good.
ask, well, if God's real, why do you make an alcoholic? I'm not mad God making me an alcoholic. God's
Mm-hmm.
job. I always talk about prayer. God's job is like, because one thing I was guilty of, I would drink, I'd get drunk, and I'd pray, oh God, take this from me. God's
Yeah.
job is God's job is to not to come down and slap the bottle out of my hand. My job is to pray, and God's job is to keep that bottle from ever being in my hand. That's what prayer is.
Right.
You can pray
Right.
all you want. It's on God's time, but you still have to put in the work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I look at the blessings
Yeah.
too. Like I heard a story a while back. There was a kid who had cancer. He had like stage 4 cancer, right? And he's got a couple months to live, and he's sitting there and he's praying, and his dad's like, "Hey son," he's like, "Why are you're praying?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Aren't you mad at God?" And he's like, "No." And he's like, "You're dying. Like you're praying to God." He's like, "Why would I be mad at God?" He's like, "I got a brother and a sister, and I'm glad that God gave me cancer so they don't have to go through it." And I look at the same thing. I got a younger sister, my sister Ashley, who's 3 years younger than me. She's never had a drinking problem. She's never had anything. And I thank God every day that He gave it to me and not to her, because I know I'm strong enough to go through this.
Right.
God doesn't give His strongest battles to His weakest soldiers. And those are facts right there. You know what I mean? And I always live by that is I know that God gave me, they say the calm before the storm. God brings a storm to make you strong enough to get out of anything else in life. So when the storm happens, that's a test from God. That just is right
Yeah.
there. That's testing your faith. Nothing's ever
No,
going to go
no.
smooth their whole life. You know what I mean? But
Yeah,
God,
no. Yeah.
that's how I look
No,
at
go
it,
ahead.
man.
Yeah,
No,
no,
that's how
no, no.
that's how I look at
No,
it.
no, you spitting some gems, man. And you said something. You said, you glad you went through it, that, and you glad that your sister ain't gotta go through it. And I believe that, bro. Like, cause I had to ask God, like, and this is a true story, like, man, cause I found my dad dead. Me and my other older sister.
Damn,
Um,
man.
yeah. To give you a small little brief, I got off of work. My grandmother was waiting on me, and I pulled up. Then my older sister pulled up right behind me, like maybe like 2 minutes, 1 minute. I don't know how long ago. I brushed in. I was the first person saw his body, and I asked God, like, why, like I had to ask myself, like, why was I the first person to see that? But I knew why, because God knew I was strong enough to handle that. God knew that my other sister, my second older sister, wasn't old enough. Well, I'm not saying I'm old enough. She wasn't strong enough to see my dad like that. Cause she was, if she would be the first person to see that, I know how it would destroy her. You know what I'm saying? So when you had said that part about God give his toughest battle to his toughest shoulders. I hope I'm saying that right. I agree to that because it made me think about that. And one of my last questions I want to ask you, um, how big of a role did God play in your recovery? Because like a lot of people, man, like I might offend some people, I don't care, but a lot of people, man, they lean on the universe or they lean on their ancestors and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And it just kind of sounds silly to me, but like I want to hear this for myself, man, because I always tell people like, man, you got to get yourself spiritually right to overcome what you're going through. Maybe you will stop having these depression moments and things like that if you lean on God. It's just that people just sometimes brush me away or get a little offended. But I want to ask you, bro, like how big of a role God played in your recovery, man?
100%. 100%. I mean, that's literally, I can, on a personal note, think of like, like I said, since 2022, when I first kind of told myself, you know what, I'm alcoholic. I would say like I'm done with this, and I would pray to God. But this is the
Yeah.
first time. This is the first time that I actually, when I spoke to him and talked to him and told him, I need help. I can't fix this. That I truly meant it, and I truly actually said, okay, your terms this time. Like, and I live it every day. Like me and my wife pray every night before we go to bed. I always look into scripture. I'm always, I got, dude, I got my little Bible case here, right? I always got
Mm-hmm.
my Bible. I'm always like, when I hear something or think of something, I go on. online and Google it. I look up in the Bible verse. It's, and like the difference this time is, because now I have to realize like God has a plan for all of us. So it's like, and people,
Right.
well, I think people misconstrued it because I think people like when something goes wrong, they say, oh, well, then if God was real, okay, God, your life's not going to be a smooth path the whole time. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
We got a beginning and we got an end. And at the end of my life is going to be God. I know God's already got a path for me, and I always tell people don't let a speed bump turn into a roadblock. And what I mean by
Yeah.
that is your path to God, there's going to be roadblocks in the way. There's going to be
Mhm.
adversity. There's going to be stuff like that. Those are the storms that God is going to send. That is the diversity God's going to send. That's the failures that we learn from. But if you
Right.
keep your faith and realize that He's not always going to answer your prayers in ways that you want to, He's going to answer prayers in His way on God's
Mhm.
time. But
Mhm.
this time around, I had to tell myself it's real. He's real. Put your faith 100%, and He will get you out of this. And here I am, 701 days later, and I have a different mindset, a different mentality. God has truly played 100,000% role in my sobriety. And I truly believe that.
Mm.
And I will never go against that.
Amen to that, bro. Amen to that, bro. I applaud you, bro, because there's a lot of people, man, who's just stuck in that victim mentality, who don't want to get help, and for you to able to control your triggers and able to control things differently than you did back then.
Yep.
Now, man, says a lot about your character, man. And
Well, and
this is my
here's the
la-
thing. Oh, sorry. Here's the
Go ahead,
thing
go no,
too.
go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
No, here's the thing too about the people that play the victim character. Like, oh, the victim. All you're doing is victimizing other people.
Mm,
You get that? Like, you can play, oh, the past. I do this because of this. I do this because of this. You're now hurting other people in your future because you're playing the victim of the past. Like, it doesn't make any sense. You have to. I'm never going to forget and let go of my past. I'm always going to remember my past, and because it got to me where I'm at today. But
right,
I'm not going to use the excuse of what happened to me in the past predict what how I treat my wife tomorrow, or my
right,
stepdaughter tomorrow. Like, victims of the past are literally victimizing people of the future. You got to learn and let go. Like, you have to let go. And
yeah,
unfortunately too, and this is the sad thing about recovery, and anybody that hears this or watches this in the sobriety community, and they even say, one in when you go to rehab, 1 in 10 people will recover. The other 9 out of 10 will relapse 2 to 3 times, and then you're going to
mm,
get a couple deaths. You're going to get a couple this and that. So the
yeah,
percent chance is very slim, anyways. So, and the problem about people in recovery is there's so many people that play the victim role, and they keep using the same excuse over and over, and they keep wondering why they keep relapsing. They keep getting the same results because they're doing the same thing over and over. If you keep doing the same thing, you're going to get the same results. Too many
right,
people don't move forward, and they don't put, what, that happened to me in the past, but who am I going to be today? Like, who is Brandon Quick today? Brandon Quick's not the poor, nobody kid who grew up in a trailer in Oklahoma and his mom's an alcoholic. Boo hoo. No, Brandon Quick is a 39-year-old awesome man here who believes in his higher power and can change a life by sharing his story. That's who I get
yeah,
to be today. And by
yeah,
not choosing to use the whole victim card, I'm not victimizing people in my future by my self-destruction because I'm blaming my shit on the past. Bro, get over your past.
right,
And that's the problem about the sobriety community is you have to be like when I'm in some of these TikTok lives, you got to
yeah,
be kind of you get a lot of people that get offended if you get too blunt about like they're like, well, you've never been through. Bro, you don't know what I've been through. But I don't sit here
right,
and mope and whine about it. I'm a grown ass man. I'm not gonna say, oh
right,
yeah, well, when I fell off my bike when I was 15. Bro, get over
yeah,
it.
yeah,
So a lot of people use that like victim mentality, and it's like you got to stop, or you're literally. And like I said, in the sobriety community, man, a lot of people unfortunately will never recover and will never ever. They will live the rest of their life until they're done in that mindset.
it's a
And
sad,
and and I,
man.
and I'm and that's one thing too that I'm so blessed about because God has taken that mindset out of my head completely. And
Mm,
I have to share the positivity with people. That's my job.
yeah, no, man, that's a sad, man. It's just real sad to see, especially when you meet someone who got potential and they just letting that, you know, hinder them
Yep.
and all they can do is just keep on whining about this and stuff like that, man. And like I said, it takes a special person, man. And I believe if you get yourself right spiritually, because I'm a firm believer of this, man. God have a purpose for you, and the devil have a perfect purpose against you. I heard
Yep.
that from a from a sermon, and I keep that in mind every day. And that's why I say it's very important for us to get spiritually right, so we can be aware of what's going on. And this is
Yep.
my last question I want to ask you, man. You know, there's somebody out there who's struggling to put the bottle down, who's stuck in that victim mentality, or who feeling like they can't get themselves out this situation, right? What is your message to them?
I would say just don't be scared to be vulnerable. You know what I mean? I think the concept in this world, and I met people that they say, especially men, they say, men,
Mm-hmm.
when a man shows vulnerability or a man cries, it's a sign of weakness. I think completely opposite. I think
Mm-hmm.
I share and I talk about it because I don't hold it inside. If it's out in the open, I have nothing to bottle up inside that might cause me to pick up again one day. And one thing we got to think
Right.
about too is, people got to think about in their faith is like, the devil isn't attacking you because you're weak. The devil's attacking you because he sees that you're a threat and what God's doing to you. And
Right.
I feel like people being more vulnerable and sharing. And if you're going through something, man, find find someone that you can talk to, you can confront and talk to somebody. And if you're and the hardest thing, like you asked me earlier, how whenever you have to cut out friends and family and stuff like that. And unfortunately in addiction, the closest people to you are usually the ones that are causing those triggers, your
Mm.
relapses. And it's hard because some people are stuck in a situation where, like, well, I don't want to hurt someone's feelings. Until you actually look in the mirror and you want it bad enough for yourself, you can't be good for anybody around you. So if you're not good
Right.
for yourself, there's nothing you can do for ones around you. You have to cut out people in your life that are no good for
Yeah.
you. And you have to literally wake up with a purpose. What is your purpose today? Why do you want to be here today?
Mm.
You have to
Mm.
share. You have to me, vulnerability is a sign of strength, not weakness. I share. I'm always going to share. And if somebody says, "Oh, this guy's you blah blah blah," he whines about, bro, then you're not that means God doesn't want you to be in my life. God puts the
Right.
people in my life that are going to keep me sober and sane every day, like this podcast. There's a reason me and you were meant to meet. There's a reason you're
Right.
so. For the next, it's almost 9 o'clock. For the next 3 hours, this podcast right now is keeping me sober, and I will go to bed sober tonight because of something like this. And that's what God puts certain things in our life for. So
Right.
for people out there that are struggling, man, I would just say that you're not alone. There's a whole community out here. There's people that love you. There's people that got your back. You can always go find me. You're gonna post this on your TikTok, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Everywhere, bro.
guys, I'm on TikTok at Be Quick Fit. I'm on Instagram. You can always message me. I'm always there to talk to people. Don't be scared to be vulnerable and share because, you know, we speak out loud so we don't suffer in silence. And I say that
Mm.
because if you hold stuff in, that's what causes people depression, anxiety, stuff like it causes people to use and pick up. If you have someone you feel
Right.
comfortable talking about, that person can keep you out of the bottle. I know it works for me, man. There's times where I talked to someone and they kept me from drinking. So don't
Mm.
be scared to share and don't feel like it's a sign of weakness because it's not. Because I promise you, I share all the time and I'm not a weak dude, physically or
Yeah.
spiritually. And those
Definitely.
are facts.
No. Definitely, man. You know what, man? I definitely appreciate your time, man, and you just dropped some gems, man. And your testimony is gonna help other people. You know what I'm saying? It's helping me, even this conversation with my own personal addictions that I have. And I truly appreciate you for coming on. I appreciate you for taking the time out. Because I know when we did talk, you was kind of a little hesitant. You probably thought I was a spam.
I just did, yeah, man. I didn't know. I
Yeah.
had no
But
idea.
yeah, yeah, but I'm glad that what I'm saying, God put that little voice in your head to allow you to come on. And I want to say thank you again, man. I really appreciate your time, man. I enjoyed this, one of my favorite interviews that I've done, bro. So
I
thank you.
appreciate that, man.
Yeah, thank
I'm always open and honest. That's what God gives me. Is just, He allows me to speak and just be honest, man. I don't hold back. I was a,
yeah, man.
I was a piece of crap in my addiction, but I don't have to be that anymore, and I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah, 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 man. So, hey, thanks again, man.